Abby Jacobson, Maya Rudolph, Danny McBride, Eric Andre, Fred Armisen, and Olivia Colman as the villain lead up this great animated cast in Netflix's new film, The Mitchells versus the Machines. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the brand new Netflix film, The Mitchells versus the Machines from Sony Pictures Animation. Before we get started, I'd like to welcome you to Dan Reviews It. If you've not been here before, thank you for finding this video and my channel. Please consider throwing me a subscribe. And if you want to, you can even click that bell next door to the subscribe button and you can get all my notifications. You can also like this video, share it, or comment below. I love talking to my viewers about these films that I review as well. So a lot to do there to help out the channel if you feel so inclined. But let's get right into this movie, The Mitchells versus the Machines. This was supposed to be a theatrical release in January of 2020, so it would have come out right before the old COVID shut down all the theaters. And in fact, if it had, it might have been one of the biggest films box office wise of the year. But a few months ago, Netflix decided to purchase the rights to it from Sony, so it is streaming now on Netflix. And as of this recording, it is the #1 show and or movie on Netflix currently. So let's talk about this movie, The Mitchells versus the Machine. I read off this great voice cast, and there's a lot more where that came from. John Legend, Conan O'Brien, Chrissy Teigen, like a lot of big names are attached to this movie. Blake Griffin. So let's just dive right into the plot here. So this is about this girl, Katie, who is voiced by Abby Jacobson from Broad City, and she is an aspiring filmmaker heading off to college, or she's about to. She's sort of made a small name for herself with some short films and videos she made for YouTube. And her dog is sort of the star of these, but her little brother helps her out a lot with the recording. Her parents are voiced by Maya Rudolph and Danny McBride, and her brother is voiced by the director of the film, Mike Rianda. This is his feature film debut, but he voices the dinosaur-loving younger brother of Katie here. And this is produced by the genius team of Phil Lord and Chris Miller. They are the brains behind the Lego Movie, The Last Man on Earth on Fox, which is a fantastic TV show. I urge you, I don't know if it's streaming anywhere, but I do urge you to kind of look into that, starring Will Forte. These guys really, really are creative. And what a team. The Lego Movie, was so outstanding. It was horrifying that it didn't get nominated for Oscar for Best Animated Feature, because it definitely deserved it. And this movie also has no shortage of really, really interesting ideas, interesting concepts, interesting animation techniques. We see sometimes the mixture of a little bit of live action here or there that I think, spices this movie up a little bit. Visually, this movie is just amazing. It's so cool and unique, and it's very bright and vibrant. The colors are great. But let's dive a little bit more into the story before we talk about some more of these positives. So basically, as Katie is sort of pulling away from her father specifically, voiced by Danny McBride, and headed to college, all of a sudden there's this giant robot uprising from this Apple-like product, I guess, called PAL. And it's sort of like a Siri knockoff as well, or, Alexa, one of those things. And that's voiced by Olivia Colman. And she is sort of now old news. We're transitioning into even newer technology. And so as a result, she decides to form a robot uprising. And Eric Andre voices the founder of that PAL program and PAL Labs in general. So, when the technological stuff in this movie started coming up, I thought to myself, all right, well, how is this movie going to hold up in 5 years or 10 years? Some of the things that make, those Disney classics such classics, and they hold up for, now some of them 4, 5, 6 generations later, or even, the Pixar movies from 20, 25 years ago still hold up very, very well today. How is a movie with technology really at its core going to hold up. And the truth is, I actually think it's going to hold up really well because I think having the technology of your phone talking to you isn't actually that new. We've been dealing with that for almost a decade at this point, probably longer. And some of the things that they actually point to in this movie as technological advances are already 10, 15 years old. So this may not be set, in the very present day. I'm not sure. I guess with YouTube and stuff, it sort of is, but I think it goes so much deeper than that. And I did appreciate that they actually used YouTube as, because obviously the PAL program doesn't really exist. They're sort of going off of other things. But YouTube specific, they maybe Sony has a stake in it or something. I don't know, but they use that specifically. And some of the themes here are a little bit, tried and true, the father-daughter situation and pulling away from the very creative daughter. It reminded me of another Sony animation picture as well, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, when you have this brilliant scientist, Flint Lockwood, and, his dad doesn't really understand him and this and that. We get some of that here, but really, I mean, these are some nitpicks about things because what they do with that very basic story and then, turn it into the robot story about, I don't know, 25 minutes in maybe, and then it goes from there. And the rest of the story is about how the family, is going to try and come together in order to save the universe and stuff like that, which is sort of, again, taking a little bit of a page maybe from the Cloudy Handbook, and obviously that was not the most original story either. Saving the world's been done to death for 100 years here in cinema, but the way it's done here is just really brilliant. The animation is so eye-popping and eye-catching, and then, like I said, they'll do things like splice in a little bit of live-action footage, or they play a lot with filters like you'd see in Snapchat or something, and they play with that both in movie and out of movie for us, the audience. And again, the brilliance of Lord and Miller, and I know they didn't direct it, they just produced it, but, that first Lego movie where they changed it from, this is a little spoiler if you haven't seen the Lego movie, where they changed from the Lego universe to the live action Will Ferrell universe with the kids playing with the Legos. It doesn't quite delve that far, but there's a lot of really, really innovative and interesting techniques here that are a bit reminiscent of that. And I'm sure that's sort of, Lord and Miller's touch of this movie. And the voice work is great. In fact, I am a huge Conan O'Brien fan. He's like one of my favorites. I've been watching his show since its inception in 1993 or whatever it was. And he has like a side voice here. He's not one of the main stars, but this Glaxon 5000. And I'm telling you what, I didn't even know it was him. And he wasn't even changing his voice really that much. It's just that's how good the animation is that you don't necessarily even, consider, oh, that's, got to be Chrissy Teigen or that's John Legend or whoever. Maya Rudolph, you can kind of tell her, but that's because she's done animation for a long, long time. She's done voice work there. And same with like Fred Armisen. He's done a lot of voice work. But everybody is really giving it their all here and taking what could have been a very basic story, man versus machine, father versus daughter, and it's turned it into something very, very special. There is, yes, some shades of other movies here, but this actually reminded me in its scope and originality and creativity of the best that Pixar has to offer. It really, I mean, it's created a whole, even though it's set in our world with people and not animals and not, some of the other things we see in some animated movies. It's set in our world with people, but it takes everything to a whole nother level. I was blown away by this movie, and having Olivia Colman be the villain, she is wonderful here. I don't know if she's done any voice work previous to this. She probably has. She's been around for a long time in the industry, but I thought she was great here, especially after just having seen her recently in The Father, doing her very great dramatic work. She's funny here. And yeah, because she's a villain, she is a bit dramatic too, but very funny. And that's something I didn't even really touch on is how GD funny this movie is too. I think we'll wrap it there, so I don't start repeating myself too much. But I want to give this a very high grade. I think I actually graded the original Lego Movie a little too low. I gave it an A minus, I believe, when I first saw it, and I think in retrospect, it is really one of the genius animated films of the last decade. So I'd say that's probably an A at this point. This one, I'm not sure. It's definitely in that range. A minus, I don't know, but I don't think I've given any A's in 2021 yet. So you know what? I feel very comfortable making the Mitchells versus the Machines my very first one. I could be wrong. I would have to go back and look at my grades. This is, I think, the 22nd movie or something I've reviewed. But anyway, it's definitely up there for me. I had a great time watching this, and I thought it might be a little long too. It runs almost 2 hours, and for an animated movie, sometimes that can get a little long in the tooth. But they've expanded the universe of these characters so much in just this amount of time that they don't really run out of things to say about them, which I think is great as well. So for me, this is an easy, one of the best of the year so far, an A for the Mitchells versus the Machines. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you back here next time on Dan Reviews It. Bye.